Hey guys, Faro here with League Top 10, and today we're going to be talking about the latest addition to the League of Legends cast, which is Ahri, the Nine-Tailed Fox. Now, before we get too deep into this, I just want to let you guys know that Spunkify will be doing the first impressions in the future, but there was a slight issue that came up that made it so we couldn't do Ahri, and that's why this one's coming out a little bit late. But without much further ado, let's get right into this. I know you guys have waited long enough. Now, Riot labels Ahri as an assassin, and to that extent, I think that they're incorrect. If she is an assassin, then she actually is fairly poor in that regard. Having a rather lengthy cooldown on her ultimate limits her mobility. She doesn't have too much of an escape outside of the ultimate, and her single target AP ratios are not the greatest. So what we're left with is a character who is kind of good at poking around, really good at the long range poke. She has one of the best CCs in the game, and she's able to kind of punish melee characters with her Firefox. So while she's not an assassin, and if you're playing her as one, then you really would be better off with someone like Kassadin or Akali, I still think that her kit is very strong, and she's actually a good character, despite what a lot of people think right now. So the obvious question is she worth the 6,300? And I'm going to say that if you're into this kind of champion, this kind of, long-range poke, doesn't really commit to the fight unless you have an advantage type character, then yeah, she's right up your alley. She's great. She fits the bill perfectly. But if you're looking for that kind of next flavor of the month, overpowered, gonna pub stomp a bunch of kids all day long, then she's not that kind of character, because she's not going to be able to solo carry games the way you would see someone like, say, Tryndamere or Skarner or Rammus right now. Now, my rune setup is just a typical AP carry page, which consists of, either a flat ability power or movement speed quintessences, magic pen reds, mana regen yellows, and cooldown reduction, and 2 magic pen blues. You can use AP per level in blues, you could use magic resistant blues, you could really just change the page around however you want, because AP carries don't get as much from the rune page as most other characters do. So, rune or masteries, I do just typical offensive masteries, straight 21 down the tree, 2109, and I pick up the buff mastery from utility and the mana regen instead of the movement speed. Now you could go for the movement speed, that's really up to you. It does play well with her, but I like the mana regen because she is kind of mana intensive. So as far as items go on her, I would say that you want to do basically a standard caster setup. You go boots, 3 health potions like any good caster would. Then you're going to go triple Doran's Ring into Hextech Revolver, or Will of the Ancients if you're feeling insecure, but you want at least the Revolver every time. Then after that, you're going to pick up Rylai's Crystal Scepter. And after that, Death Cap, Void Staff, and like a luxury item, maybe Deathfire Grasp if you like it. And a lot of people are going to be asking, why wouldn't you go Rod of Ages on her? To that, I'm going to say that 3 Doran's Rings is pretty much always better than Rod of Ages on a character who benefits from Crystal Scepter. And the reason for that is that in pieces, the triple Doran's Rings are worth about as much as either a Catalyst or a Blasting Wand and a Health Crystal. And they give you way more stats. When you look at the combined cost of Rod of Aegis, you can add basically a Needlessly Large Rod or a Giant Spell to the triple Doran's Ring combo, and I'd say that triple Doran's Ring plus either of those items is pretty much always better. And, Rod of Aegis is really only for characters who don't benefit from Crystal Scepter. And she is fucking amazing with Crystal Scepter. So, now you're going to be asking me, why is Rylai so good on Ahri? And that's because Firefox, or Foxfire, or however they call it, actually counts as 3 single target hits from a spell. And that means that anytime a group of bad guys decides to come and attack you, you pop Foxfire, and all of them receive the full slow, and then you bounce away like a fox, and you just get away, because what are they going to do to stop you? That's right, nothing, because they're slowed, and you have a dash. Now, that also counts for the spell vamp, which means that usually if you can hit 3 separate targets, using Foxfire with the Spell Vamp passive is better than using the Q, because, as some of you may or may not know, Spell Vamp receives a reduction on AoE spells. I think it goes down to 33%. So, in general, I would say it's usually better to use the lifesteal on the Q at a creep wave, but if you can't do that, Foxfire nearby targets. It works wonders. So now that we're through all of that, let's talk about her general laning strength. I think she's a decent laner. She's not the best. She's not going to stomp all over everything, but she can hold her own, and she does that between her decent mana costs and her Spell Vamp passive. She farms reasonably well between her W and her Q, and she can exchange okay, but she's really good at avoiding exchanges, which is actually very important. She can't really avoid getting ganked before 6, but she can kind of get out of ganks by charming at the right time. Now, charm is kind of a hard skill to hit. It's got a narrower hitbox than it looks, and it flies kind of slowly, so it's kind of easy to dodge. But it is probably the single best crowd control in the game. And I'm going to keep saying that until everyone realizes it. It is really, really good. So, for skill build, you do only want 1 point in that, unfortunately, because of how good the other 2 skills are. But Charmed is still amazing. As far as the rest of her lane presence goes, once she hits 6, post-game 6 is probably the biggest deal. She can burst down targets who get, sub 50. And that's when you guys are going to be like, oh, but I thought you said she was a terrible assassin. Why now she can burst targets down? You're just contradicting yourself. No, I'm not. An assassin, to most people, is someone who can basically hit man a target and get out. And the getting out part is phenomenally important. Ahri is not the best at getting out because she needs to use all 3 of her ultimate charges to kill her target. That's just an unfortunate part of the game. And really, if you commit to that kind of thing, that laning is the only place you can do that. If you commit to a 3 offense ultimate in a team fight, you're just going to get completely wrecked. You have a lot of spell vamp, but that's not going to be able to keep you alive through focus fire. It's not going to keep you alive through ignite. So you kind of want to play her as a skirmish character. You want to sit on the sidelines of the fight and just throw your spells in. Now, that can be very difficult. I know my first game with her, I missed probably 90% of my spells in team fights, and it was really depressing. I was kind of watching my play and going, man, I am the worst player of all time. I don't think I got a single stack out of that fight. But as your play gets better, she becomes so good. It's actually kind of silly. Her AoE damage is really impressive, and if she's with a team that can set up AoE damage, then she's actually kind of really amazing. And that comes, first of all, from her raw AoE. Second, it gives her a team that can kind of set up and let her sit in the back. You have someone like a Mumu or Alistar, then, they're peeling for you, they're keeping guys away from you, and you're kind of just poking at the bad guys, which is exactly what she does well. And taking small amounts of damage is fine on Ahri because of how much spell vamp you have in a team fight. You rush, say, Will of the Ancients. You rush Will of the Ancients. That combined with your passive is going to keep you in the fight for a very, very, very long time. And in that regard, she is more of a sustained fighter than she is an assassin, the way Riot would have her painted out to be. So, I guess the final question would be, do I like her? She's not really my style, but I think that she could be strong. I mean, I could definitely see how a character like this could get strong. I don't think she's the next Xerath, per se, but I do think she is a very good character. And maybe if the meta shifts around a bit, she actually just drops straight into the limelight. So we'll have to wait and see, guys. Now let's talk about what we're going to be doing outside of first impressions, because I know everybody's really kind of wondering what's going on with that. Spunkify is going to be around the channel. He's going to be handling first impressions now on. But I am personally going to be starting up a new series, bringing back Summoner Synapse, and doing kind of an interview series with some of the higher rated players. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about, how you win each lane, what you're supposed to be doing, what your goals are, and what the rest of the team expects from you. And the point of that series is to kind of get people in the right mindset for the role they're going to be in. Now, this series probably won't be terribly consistent with release dates coming up because I'm moving. I'm starting up my last semester of mechanical engineering, and I just haven't had a lot of time to play recently. If you guys have been wondering, it's been, a mess between finals and holidays and that kind of thing. So I'm going to try and make Summoner Synapse a weekly thing. I'm going to try and make the role guides a bi-weekly thing. And we're going to try and do a champion guide every other day starting January 5th. That is the plan right now. So I hope you guys stick around, and I hope I'll see you then.